In this episode of the Gnostic Deluge, Mark and myself delve into the epic of Abram. Part 1 of this series takes off post-flood with the coronation of Nimrod, and we take it to the birth of the chosen one, Abram. We had a lot of fun with this episode, but unfortunately, our production of it was lacking, and so you will only find the audio here. Check the information below for a link to our podcast page, or just search for Gnostic Deluge on your favorite podcast service. Enjoy!
Brandon, here we are.
Hey Mark, how you doing?
Good. Hopefully we did that right.
Yeah.
Whatever we just did, you'll never know.
It's a secret.
No, we're working on something. Brandon. Anyway.
Yeah, we're just trying to be better.
Yeah, trying to get this down. We have a pretty decent system. We haven't had too many mess ups.
Yeah.
So today we are going back to the beginning. Not the beginning, but we actually 2 weeks ago, we went downstairs and I asked Tanya which ones.
Yeah.
What was it? What was the question?
You were like, which ones of what of our
which podcasts do you like?
podcasts or episodes have you enjoyed the most or whatever?
She likes the stories.
Yeah.
Like the ones where we go over Enoch, or Noah, or
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve,
which is where we started. We started on Adam and Eve.
So I was like, okay, sweet, because I've been wanting to do this one for a while.
Yeah, me too. And this is I'm actually grateful that we did it because I got brought back to our early Gnostic Deluge roots a little bit.
Yeah,
like getting back into the Abraham, just basically taken right off from Noah, almost.
Yep. Yeah, it's actually that's where we're going to start. So today we are going to the book of Jasher.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
we have different books, but they're the same.
Yeah.
As far as I know, there's only
change the video so we can see if
there's only one book of Jasher, as far as I know.
There's 3 different ones.
Is there?
Yeah.
Jeez, Mark just.
Brandon, you haven't done your research on this.
Yeah.
But basically there's 3 different Jashers. Okay. One is was published in the 1700s, and it's pretty much a forgery. They say it's a forgery. It's actually it's hard to find it. I was looking for it on PDF. Oh yeah, my phone is off. Dang it. Well, that's
Mark
good.
turned his phone off.
But I found a copy, and it's more of a kind of what were those people called? A deist kind of.
Okay.
Where it's the rational.
Okay.
Kind of a gospel, or the creation and stuff, I guess. Anyway, it's so that one's like everybody's like that. That's not an old book. It's just some kind of rewriting. And then there's another one that has nothing to do with kind of the Jasher. It was just okay. First off, Jasher. In Hebrew means upright.
Okay.
That's so it's not, it wasn't necessarily, whenever they say, the book of Jasher, they're not saying the book of this person,
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like the book of Daniel or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the upright book.
Yeah.
Or
There's a few books that are actually like that, and we call a name to it.
Yeah. But actually, in the Bible, there's some references to it. Hopefully, I can find it.
And that's why this book is a common one to be like, "Hey, I found the book of Jasher."
Yeah, that's one of the old tricks too, that we've talked about a couple times. Is that they would write a book like the epistles of Paul. There's a bunch of them, and there's a big dispute. And it's pretty recognized that all of those weren't written by Paul.
Like half of them weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
not to throw in like any kind of like.
Scholarship or whatever says, that even the, the books of the Bible were written after, and they would attribute it to.
Correct.
And
to be fair, just to be an apologist a little bit here for Paul. half of those books, and this is one thing I can talk about. I wrote paper on this.
You did?
Oh yeah. But half of the books of Paul are recognized to be written by someone they refer to as the pastor, and who is perhaps a student, one of Paul's students.
Yeah,
but didn't see things the same way.
Hey, let's even go outside of the Bible. All of Socrates' writings, were written by
Plato.
Yeah. So Socrates didn't write anything. The Buddha didn't write. The Buddha didn't write anything.
Jesus didn't write anything.
Yeah, that's true. So that's okay. So it's not meant to be like a we got you.
There's no criticism at all. Yeah, it's just the way things are.
But okay, so in Joshua 10:13 it says, "And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies." And it says, "Is not this written in the book of Jasher?" And so the sun stood still in the midst of heaven and hastened not to go down about a whole day. So they're making reference to this book of Jasher, or the book of the upright one. Like, hey, there's more about this, in this written in this book. So of Jasher. Let's see what they're.
Yeah.
So right, and then also it makes another reference in 2 Samuel. So this is referenced a couple times in the Bible, and there's a couple lost books of the Bible. Actually, I used to have a whole list that they make reference to that that we aren't found in our current Bible. Like, where are these? And that's what people would do. They'd be, 2 Samuel 1:18, it says, "And he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher." So anyway, those are the two references in our Bible about the book of Jasher. And so it makes sense that people would be like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
Guess what? I found that book of Jasher. So you can't just,
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's kind of like it's not adding to, because it's referenced in the Bible.
Yeah, it's not written by Bob.
Yeah. I wonder if they. Oh no, we're recording. I was like, because this one has such a good concordance and thing on. I wonder if I wrote.
What are you looking for?
Oh, I was gonna look for the books referenced
here
for the Bible. Oh, is this ones that? Oh, okay. Brandon's got the
introduction on the copy.
So some of the lost books of the the books of the Bible that if ever you wanted to write your own Bible, you might. These are some ideas for the titles of the books of the wars of the Lord, which is referenced in Numbers 21:14. The books of the Acts of Solomon, which is referenced in 1 Kings 11:41. The books of Samuel the seer, which I bet you would be good.
Yeah.
That could be a very mystical one.
Sure.
We're all like, like 1 Chronicles 29:29. The book of Nathan the prophet, which could be anything you want.
Yeah.
1 Chronicles again, and 2 Chronicles. That one was referenced twice. The book of Gad the seer, the prophecy of Ahijah.
Interesting.
The visions of Edo the seer.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
These are all in Chronicles, 2 Chronicles now. The book of Shemaiah, the book of Jehu, the sayings of the seers. That would be a fun one. And then here's some from the New Testament, an early epistle of Paul to the Corinthians, predating our current 1 Corinthians. So he probably said, I wrote, this is the second time I'm coming to you, exactly. Or whatever. I wrote you before, and it's like, when?
Exactly.
We don't have
it, yeah.
And possibly an early epistle to the Ephesians, which is Ephesians 3:3, if you want to look it up. An epistle to the members of the church at Lacedonia, which is Colossians 4:16, and prophecies of Enoch. Ooh, Jude 1:14, and that's we've talked about that, and that's where, whenever we talked about Enoch, we talked about how it's referenced to. There's the reference in the Old Testament to Enoch, but then there's a reference. And in Jude, where they actually quote from the Book of Enoch.
Yeah, like that one verse. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but this Book of Jasher was published in Hebrew in Venice in 1625. Okay, so it's old. It is old.
Yeah.
And it's believed to come from like the Midrash, and they date it somewhere between 900 and AD or BCE or wait, AD what?
CE.
CE. Okay.
We grew up in the 80s,
Yeah.
90s.
So anyway, so between 900 CE and or our current 900 of our current year, the year of our Lord. No, but
Common era.
yeah. So but it's believed that it comes from the Midrash, and actually, if you read, well, I listened to it and read it, but the Ginsburg, not Ruth Bader, but Ginsburg's, how was it? Legends of the Jews.
Okay.
Yeah. It basically follows exactly.
Yeah,
there's a little bit.
I have that one on my queue on audio box.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's basically it's the same thing as this. There's a few. So Ginsburg is a Jewish scholar in the early 1900s that put together, and it follows pretty commonly or pretty along the lines of the Book of Jasher.
Cool.
So, and then but this was translated to English and a publisher in New York in 1840.
Yes.
So there you go. There's the Book of Jasher. There's two other books of Jasher. One has nothing to do with anything. It's just the book of, it has more to do with living an upright life, as nothing, no historical things.
Correct. No stories.
And then the other one is pretty much agreed to be some kind of forgery. So that's why whenever I was worried, because I was like, wait, is this the right Jasher? Is this the bad one? But it's not.
Oh, cool.
So
I also had that worry, but
yeah, I'm like, oh no, this is one that's pretty accepted. I mean, like even amongst Jewish people. Yeah, I mean, not, as tradition, at least, not as scripture.
Yeah. And it reads a lot like, it reads a lot like the scripture, like the scriptural texts that we're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually has kind of like a ring of the Adam and Eve stuff that we were recently.
Yeah, this is fun too, because like I say that obviously the Bible doesn't have it all in it. It's a condensed version where they tell the things that they think are important, but
yeah,
but they never address, like, for Adam and Eve, what happened after they left the garden. They don't really talk about them much after that. So I imagine, living in that. But this one, particularly for Abraham, what happened, before him and his father went over to Canaan? They don't really elaborate on that.
Yep.
Well, did you want to have a drink?
Yeah, let me see what we got today.
I mean, we got a few things, but actually, I don't think I've had one. I don't know if you're interested, but the LaCroix Key Lime.
Last time we had the, and I had never had the last one we had. It was
the limoncello.
Limoncello, yeah.
Yeah.
Key lime.
That's right.
So, I'm going to be sounding really ignorant here. What's the difference between key lime and lime? This is where it comes from.
It's those little limes.
Okay,
key limes, like the
the little tiny ones.
I think it's a little, yeah, and it's more. I don't know. Well, I just love a good key lime pie.
Yeah, that's the only thing I know about key
yeah,
lime.
I'm like, ooh, and they're really sour. So I don't know.
Better than I thought. I'll tell you that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's just way better.
That's a
way
good.
Better than
that's
I
a
thought.
good. Like it's a good lime. It's almost like, you know what? And okay, so this is LaCroix Key Lime. I guess we should have said LaCroix Key Lime. So it's no sugar or anything, and it's good. It's almost like like a really like an even better Sprite.
Yeah, and
You
it's
know?
innocent.
Yeah. 0 sodium equals innocence. Oh, 0 calories, 0 sweetener, 0 sodium equals innocent.
That's the equation for innocent.
Makes sense, I guess. But this is really
It's
good.
pretty good. It's actually better than I haven't never been a huge fan of LaCroix, but I've only had before the last time we did this. I've only had the pamplemousse one.
I think they're like
and
stepping their game
I
up.
liked it more. I liked it.
Yeah, that was the
but-
best one. That was the best
and that's
one
what
of
everybody
theirs.
told me.
Everything else was just like, eh.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome, Brandon. You're welcome. Well, so eventually, yeah. Fortunately, this is a reveal of one that's actually decent because the last couple times, this morning I still had some of those other ones, the ginger beer with whatever that flower was.
Yeah.
Anyway, I still have those sitting around because they just weren't good. What is that? That flower, the red?
Yeah, hibiscus.
Hibiscus. Yeah, that's just not a good combination.
I like hibiscus
No,
flavored
I
things.
like hibiscus.
But not that one. That was, yeah. I'm glad. Thanks.
Mhm.
This is already successful. This episode.
Yes. We can end it now.
We can end now and
It is
be on
finished.
top- Be on top.
As somebody said once. It
As
is
somebody
finished
said one time.
in a garden.
It is finished.
Okay. So, all right. Real quick, I wanted to talk about where, the context of what happened, because this is after the flood.
Yeah. So we're actually starting in chapter 5, right?
Yeah. But actually, I want to talk a little real quick. I don't know. Or maybe real quick about the flood. Or not
Okay.
about the flood, but.
Can I mention one thing just for those listening here? I think it's chapters 2 and 3 and 4, or 3 and 4, that have the Enoch story.
It's
What was it? Is it 2 and 3 and 4, or 3 and 4? Anyways,
yeah, chapter 3, 2 and 3.
okay, 2 and 3. It's actually a pretty good story.
Yeah,
of
it's
Enoch.
interesting because that Enoch story is a lot different from the Enoch story that we hear, because Enoch has a lot bigger role in the people.
Yeah, he actually becomes.
Is a
He actually
king.
is a king of kings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's worth the read. So if you have time and you're going to follow along with us, also get the first few chapters before this, and you're going to reference even 4. It looks like a little bit.
Well, yeah, I just want to talk about the reason for the flood according
Okay.
to this, which is, so in the book of Jasher, chapter 4, verse 17 says, "Every man made unto himself a god, and they robbed and plundered every man his neighbor as well as his relative, and they corrupted the earth, and the earth was filled with violence." So, actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to read the whole chapter 4, verse 18. Yeah.
Okay. And their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men, and took their wives by force from their husbands according to their choice. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the air, and taught the mixture of animals of one species with the other, and ordered therewith to provoke the Lord. And God saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its way upon earth, and all men and all animals.
Okay, so the world became it was so corrupt that they had screwed up the animals
Yeah.
somehow. This reminds me of the different ages that you hear about, like in Greek, and different ages of men, and they keep destroying them, and
Yeah.
finally they get it right. Or if in the Babylonians, the Sumerians, I mean,
Yeah.
their myths, and
Yeah, that's right.
but
I see
so
the
it's like
similarity.
the mixture of animals with one species. So you might have had I don't even know. No, we're not just talking about like donkeys or mules or whatever.
Yeah. Ligers.
They actually have those
Yeah,
though,
apparently.
because they're both in the cat family. It's
Yeah.
possible, but I'm saying but anyway, so
The context to this is giving me the feel of that whatever they were doing was definitely unnatural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was there some kind of, I mean, like just this science kind of mixing up, screwing up everything.
Yeah.
Like, remember my thing about, well, maybe they spliced the crocodile gene into and made giants. Anyway, but they somehow the things had gotten so screwed up. The Lord's like, dude, okay, I need to we're done. I'm gonna reboot,
reset.
So I even wrote flood of the flood of the earth is a reboot.
And so if I'm correct, the Genesis, the reasoning for the flood is merely just described as they were haters of their own blood, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So this is an expansion on that a little bit. It was just not. It wasn't just that they were violent. It wasn't just violence.
Things were. You might have just had these like, just crazy stuff going on. I don't know. But anyway, it's just interesting that the reason for it is a lot different. And actually, if you go we talked about when we talked about Enoch and the Dead Sea Scrolls. Remember, they were taking animals and screwing them up too. Was it the Dead Sea or is it Nag Hammadi? It's the one that has the. Gosh dang it! Which one? It was the Nag Hammadi.
Probably.
No,
that was Enoch. That was second Enoch.
Dang it!
Right?
No. This one was found way later.
Okay.
This one is from the Nag Hammadi.
The Secrets of Enoch?
No.
Boy, there's so many Enochs.
Dang it. Enoch and the Giants, basically.
Oh,
the one where there's the tablets. Anyway, but they make the same reference that this makes.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that shows too, dang it, I'm like having all these thoughts, but is that oh wait, what is that? That might be it right there. On the one at the very. Anyway, okay, no. Let's just keep talking. But I'm saying that's a more recent find of an old book that wouldn't have been known when this was written. So it not proves it, but is a second witness to that at least being the believed reason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I that's the first thing I thought when you said that. Like, hey, if it's in more than one place.
Yeah, you're like, oh wait, there might be a little. So it might have been a tradition that something happened with the, with the earth that it just began, and they talk about the earth becoming corrupted pollutants, and they talk about that in the Bible.
Yeah.
And so that the earth was totally corrupt. Not only the men were corrupt, but even down to the animals, they had screwed it up so much.
Interesting.
Who knows if you think about like modern times, and the way the earth's going and what, men are doing with different things, if we're headed for another screwing up with DNA and all that, I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah. No, I crossed my mind. So it did cross my mind.
Anyway, so then God sends a flood, and so on the boat there was Noah and his 3 sons.
Yeah, there was Noah there was 8, right? So Noah, his wife, and then his 3 sons and their wives.
Yeah, so there's Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives, and then Noah and his wife, and then all the animals.
2 of every kind, apparently.
Yeah.
Hopefully not the ones that got screwed up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is actually maybe that's part of the thing, is that the ark was like a
restore.
Yeah, the restoration. So it's like, we got to destroy it all. We'll get the pure ones that we have.
You know what's funny is I think that's more what the ark actually means. Like there's like I know there's a seed. There's a few seed repositories on the earth where they store up seeds in case there's a reboot.
Really?
Yeah. And I think
think we're gonna have good tomatoes.
Yeah, like they have seeds of like plants species of plants from all across the planet, and they have them in these repositories that are like up in the mountains and like, like in these big vaults. So in case there's a
Well, of course,
reboot,
but we're not going to get them. Like the high up government officials are going to get them.
in case of a reboot, we have them.
Give us the code.
And I think they're referred to as at least one of them referred to as an ark.
The ark. That was in one of those movies too, with the asteroids or something, where they had those big arcs. They went up in the mountain. Anyway, I don't remember which one that was, but well, anyway, so it's interesting theories, like you know.
I like that. I'm okay with that definition of why the flood would happen. Versus they just were killing each other. It makes more sense to why they would why they would bring all the animals.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Bring two of the kind. It's more, to me. Yeah. It's like, okay, so we gotta.
Don't bring the ligers.
We're just gonna burn it over, and we're gonna start over again.
Yeah. Don't bring the ligers or the dragons or the.
Yeah. Why didn't you bring dragons, man? Don't bring the dinosaurs.
Yeah. The trolls.
Yeah. And definitely do not bring the giants.
Yeah.
They're not getting in.
No. That's why the water was so high.
Well, so the flood happens, and we're going to talk about there's the three descendants, or the three kids, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now, today we're going to be talking about Nimrod and Abraham. Their kind of little rivalry they got going on.
It's pretty much outside of mentioning Abraham's father a few times. It's pretty much those are pretty much the two characters.
Yeah.
In this story.
Yeah. And so from Ham was born Cush. Cush was the first born of Ham, and then Nimrod was Cush's son. So it's only three generations of Noah.
He was just the great grandson.
Yeah.
Because Cush would have been the grandson.
Yeah. Now, so that's in Ham's line of kids. Nimrod is right up there, not that far. Now Shem had Arpachshad, then Sheloch, Eber, Peleg had Gen had Serug had Nahor had Terah, and Terah had three sons, Haran and Nahor, and then in his older age, in his 70s, he had Abraham. So it's 10 generations from Noah. So, I mean, I roughly that'd be, if everyone had a kid at 20 years old, that'd be 200 years.
Real quick, I don't want to derail, so I'll get through this real quick. Have you noticed that every time the name Peleg is mentioned, there has to be like a
thing about
reference to like what happened in his age?
Yeah, and this one's, read the reference to this one, because it's a little different from the way it's worded is different, because in the Bible it talks about Peleg, and then it says, and the earth was divided in his day, right? Like the actual physical earth. Do you see or do you see it?
I'm looking for it.
Peleg in his in verse 19 of chapter 7.
Oh, that's why I was too early. Yeah, okay. So these are the generations of Shem.
You just look for
Eber and Eber were born to children. The name of one was Peleg, and then it says, "For in his days the sons of men were divided, and in the latter days the earth was divided."
Yeah. It's something. I wonder if his name actually means division. Mm-hmm. I bet you it does.
Yeah, I should look that up.
It always. Brandon, you should know that.
Pei Lamed Gimel.
But in the Bible, it makes reference to the earth being divided in his day. But anyway, whatever. They always do make reference to that.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting though that in this one it says, because as whenever you're a kid you learn about that with the how the continents actually kind of fit together.
Yep.
You're like, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the division.
So whatever that's called in the middle. Did you look it up?
Yeah, Pei Lamed Gimel in Hebrew. Meaning is division, dividing canal.
There you go. So we were right.
Yeah, from the verb palag.
That's one of the interesting
to divide
things
or split.
When I was looking up what Nimrod meant, is that it's kind of like Indian, like American Indians. Traditionally, they'd name their kid something.
Was it the hunter?
Well, but I'm saying like something that happened.
Okay.
Or whatever, like
event.
Happy Bear or something, like, or whatever, like Dance with Wolves, which probably wasn't a real name, but they saw him dancing with wolves, so they gave him that name in the movie, which is not Indian lore, but anyway, so the names would actually be according to something that was going on, and Nimrod is actually a Semitic name, and it's
the noon is not part of the name.
Yeah, so it's
Mem Resh Dalet,
and the N in it is actually something to
it's a part of like it means like to do or two or four. Or
yeah. So it was
from
MRD in Hebrew or whatever means rebel, right? To rebel.
Okay.
And in those days, the children of men were rebelling. And that's they actually say in here that Cush, the son of Ham, took a wife in those days in his old age, and she bare him a son, and they called his name Nimrod, saying, at that time the sons of men again began to rebel and trespass against God. So they named him. So the Cush seems like he might have been and Ham might have been decent people, because they named him because they saw that the people were becoming wicked. They named him after that.
Sure.
This is interesting.
It's
like,
really
what
cool.
would not my name be? Like, because I happened right when Nixon was quit. Anyway, the whole, what is that? Watergate.
Yeah.
Thing. Anyway, I don't know what they would call that. But so it's just interesting the way they name kids. So they had noticed, okay, and so they named their kids after that. That would suck though, getting called like famine or something. You know?
Desolation.
Yeah. You're like, dang it. I guess, but Rebel's kind of cool.
No, it is.
Like, dude, I'm Rebel.
I'm sure he had a lot of, I'm sure he was proud of his name.
Yeah. I mean, but Genesis 10, 8 through 9 actually mention him. And that's the thing about this, is that we don't get much information. Like, there's a whole cool, fun story, like big story, epic story behind us. And the Bible just mentions Nimrod, and it says, what was it? 8 through 9. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. For some reason that was the saying.
What's interesting is and this happens a lot, the way that I can't tell if it's just the way that these things are written, where everything is the Lord's doing, or whether the people that they're talking about actually were like in good standing of the Lord. But even Nimrod at the beginning, it kind of sounds like the Lord was like blessing him.
Yeah. Okay. So now we want to talk about, because him being a great hunter and everything is just interesting because actually some people believe, well, before the flood, people were vegetarians. I've heard different,
Well,
I mean,
I've
that's
heard that. I've heard that too.
I
I don't think there's any way
they
for
don't talk
anybody,
about eating meat until, but then
just because it's not mentioned.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's not neither here nor there, but there's a whole story that they go into in the book of Jasher. Do you want to read chapter 5, 24, 25, 26?
5? 24?
7, 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever chapter we're in.
The garment one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or do you want to go every other paragraph?
Sure.
Or you read the first, I'll read the next. And we'll
Nice. Organization.
Yeah.
Okay, so 24.
Yeah.
And the garments of skin which God made for Adam and his wife, when they went out of the garden, were given to Cush.
For after the death of Adam and his wife, the garments were given to Enoch, who we've talked about,
Yeah.
the son of Jared. And when Enoch was taken up to God, he gave them to Methuselah, his son. Okay.
And then at the death of Methuselah, Noah took them and brought them to the ark, and they were with him until he went out of the ark.
Okay, so there's this garment.
Yeah, like the clothing that was made for Adam and Eve.
Yeah, and we're gonna find out this has a special power. So okay, and in their going out, Ham stole those garments from Noah his father, and he took them and hid them from his brothers.
And so when Ham begat his first son Cush, he gave his garments in secret, and they were with Cush for many days.
Okay, well, let's go to the Bible. Let's read this story. Or actually, we'll do the same thing, Brandon.
Sure, I'll take this.
We're going to. So we're talking about this garment that there's this weird story that never makes sense in the Bible, but that has to do with what they're talking about. It's in. Where is it? Oh man, did I not write it down? Well, Genesis.
Yeah, it's going to be like in 7. No. Yeah, let me see.
Oh yeah. 9.
9. Good guess.
Where what's his name is making okay, comes a. Yeah.
Okay, so and Noah began to be an husbandman.
Yeah, that's where it starts.
And he planted a vineyard. Okay, so he's growing grapes.
Yeah.
And he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent.
So he's naked. He's uncovered.
Unclothed.
But okay.
Or uncovered, I guess is all we know. We can't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his 2 brothers. Okay. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. Okay, you read the next.
And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall be unto his brethren.
Okay. Anyway, this isn't now.
Yeah, that's the end, right?
So basically, because then it just goes on like, he shall be cursed, and he's for some reason he curses the son of Cain, or of Ham, not Ham.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's just weird. It's like Canaan's going to be cursed because of what Ham did or whatever. Anyway, it's just weird because it's like it never explains. Like, this is one of those mysterious passages where for some reason he's naked, and then okay, I don't know how to explain it. And it says he was uncovered, so it almost seems like Ham took whatever he was wearing and took it off of him.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is where I'm going with it.
Okay.
And this makes sense with what it's saying in Jasher. So Ham his father was drunk. Ham went into the tent, took off his garment, and and then Shem and Japheth came in and covered his father and said, "Hey, Ham saw you, or put you in the state." And then Noah gets upset and so he curses his son for whatever reason. So
where if it was if you get the impression that must have been a really important covering.
Yeah, that's what Jasher's saying is that okay, there's this garment that Adam and Eve had that was handed down, and then after the flood, Ham stole it from his dad. It says Ham stole those garments from Noah, his father, and he took them and hid them from his brothers, which his brothers saw the dad naked, like, what the heck, what happened to his garment, And then Ham gives it to Cush, and then Cush also concealed them from his sons and brothers. And when Cush had begotten Nimrod, which is the son of his old age, Cush was the firstborn, though, of his father before, of Ham.
That's why he would give to his firstborn.
Yeah. Yeah.
This all makes sense.
Yeah, that's just what they do in the olden times. He gave those garments through his love for him, and Nimrod grew up, and when he was 20 years old, he put on those garments. In verse 30, it says, and Nimrod became strong when he put on the garments. Okay? And God gave him might and strength, and he was a mighty hunter in the earth. Yea, he was a mighty hunter in the field, and he hunted the animals, and he built altars and offered upon them animals before the Lord.
So yeah, he was he was making sacrifices.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying the garment made him strong, and seems like enabled him to become a mighty hunter, or to have power over animals.
It kind of seems like, and I don't think I've ever developed this in my mind until just now. It's funny how we read through these things before we start recording, and then as we're talking about
we're like, yeah. I know. I'm like, oh wait, there's that reference over there, and I'm like, oh, we don't got time to.
It kind of seems to me though that I'm seeing that this garment, this robe or clothing or whatever it is, it's almost like it's the king's robe.
Yeah.
And whoever wears it is the king.
Yeah.
And Nimrod becomes the king.
Well, yeah, at 20 years old, it says,
and everybody follows him.
Nimrod became strong when he put on the garments. The garments had this power. And okay, let's go back to this garment was Noah had it. It was first off, Adam, was to had control or named all the beasts and had them before him, and
correct.
And it was so okay. I don't know if that, but okay, Noah possibly with this garment was able to get the animals to control them. He became the animal whisperer with it.
Yeah, the Beastmaster.
It gave him. Well, remember, it gave him dominion over the earth.
Yeah,
over the creatures of the earth.
It's kind of like this makes you the king of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's always, and then so they pass it down, and then at post flood, Noah has it, and Ham wants the king he wants his family to be the ones that reign, right? So he swipes it, gives it to his eldest son, and it goes to Nimrod, and Nimrod is the king, over everything, even over apparently Noah.
Well, I'm saying, or he's the king. Yeah, the recognized but it king, gives him strength. Yeah, for some reason. So anyway, he becomes the mighty with this garment. He becomes, God gave him might and strength. He became a mighty hunter of the field, and he hunted the animals. And then he would make offerings to the Lord. Now Nimrod starts consolidating his power. Mm-hmm. Once he turns 20 and gets this garment, or finally puts on the garment. Let's see what I have. Let's see. So he consolidates his power in 31 through 40. There's a big battle. and people start seeing Nimrod's got this special power. And he's like, hey guys, in verse 36, don't fear, neither be alarmed, for all our enemies will be delivered into our hands, and you may do with them as you please. So they, there's actually, I think they're fighting the children of Japheth.
Mm-hmm.
So there's starting to be, this is I don't know how many generations after, but there starts, these different tribes, but they're all together, but they start kind of warring, over land and different things as happens. And so but then Nimrod starts becoming like a really good general, right? And in 39, when Nimrod had joyfully returned from battle and having conquered his enemies, all his brethren, together with those who knew him, assembled to make him king over them.
Makes sense.
So he had one. He's like, dude, you helped, you led us through this battle. You're king.
Yeah, and you have that cool robe or whatever it is.
Yeah, like you have power over the beasts.
You're the king.
Yeah.
So they did it.
You're the king.
And that's kind of the and it's whether it actually was the entire earth or not. Apparently he was king over everybody.
Well, yeah, over that area.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't until the days of Peleg, dude, that
Sure.
things were divided.
Sure.
Can you imagine, like, that's how the American Indians were, like, they're like, all of a sudden, hey guys, wait, throw me a rope. No.
Just words like that.
Like
boat.
Peleg, throw me a rope. Okay, anyway. That's actually, guys, that's how it actually happened. That it wasn't a land bridge.
No.
No Bering Strait. They didn't get over here in boats.
They just were here and the land started dividing.
It was like me and Brandon right here, and all of a sudden this house just divided and kept going, and we just didn't have a rope to get him back over. Anyway, okay, so there's this guy Terah that Nimrod likes a lot, and he actually, in verse 41 of 7, he placed Terah, the son of Nahor, which in that he's the descendant of Shem, like he places. So he placed Terah, the son of Nahor, the prince of his host, and he dignified him and elevated him above all his princes. So Terah's important now. Terah has two sons in his 30s, who did I say they were? Haran and Nahor.
Yep.
But then in his
70s,
he has another kid. But well, let's talk a little bit more about Nimrod, though.
So Nimrod had a son that was
oh yeah, I like this saying, like, this is their early attempt at what are they called? Not similes. What are those things where you say, like, don't look a gift horse in the mouth?
Yes,
this is an early thing of,
yeah.
Well, no, but this is like the early attempt of those sayings. What are those called? Cliches.
Yeah.
This is so Nimrod, he starts in 45, read 45.
And all nations and tongues heard of his fame, and they gathered themselves to him, and they bowed down to the earth, and they brought him offerings, and he became their lord and king. And they all dwelt with him in the city of Shinar, and Nimrod reigned in the earth over all the sons of Noah, and they were all under his power and counsel.
Yeah.
So even Shem.
Read 46. Well, but we don't really. Seems like they're Noah and Shem.
Like we're off in the hills.
They're kind of off somewhere else, kind of like the way Enoch did.
Yeah.
Where he's not involved. It seems like.
46. And all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. But Nimrod did not go in the ways of the Lord. And he was more wicked than all the men that were before him, from the days of the flood until those days.
So he's starting off, like, from the days of the flood. So he's not as wicked as the people back before the flood. It's saying from the days of the flood,
Sure.
or from the days of the flood until those days. So up until after the flood, and now he's the worst. He's starting to. I mean, he's making offerings to the Lord, or but he's starting to go in a bad way.
Yeah.
I mean, God even gave him strength, whenever he put on that garment. And in 47, he made gods of wood and stone, and he bowed down to them. And he rebelled against the Lord and taught all his subjects and the people of the earth his wicked ways. But, read this.
Lo and behold, and Mardon, his son, was more wicked than his father. And every one that heard of the acts of Mardon, the son of Nimrod, would say concerning him, From the wicked goeth forth wickedness. Therefore it became a proverb in the whole earth, saying, From the wicked goeth forth wickedness. And it was current in the words of men from that time to this.
So that's their early attempt at a...
That's where that from... You know how everybody says that?
You may have heard it. No. It's like, from the wicked goeth forth wickedness.
It's like so obvious, too. It's like, oh, wow, how profound. Like, so from wicked things come from the wicked?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So Nimrod's kind of going in a way where he's making gods of wood and stone, bowing down to them, teaching his subjects to do the same thing. Now, okay, so now we get into Terah. He takes a wife. His other wife must have died, because in his 30s, somewhere in here, it talks about, or maybe just took another wife.
That could be. That could be.
But he has 2 kids, the ones I mentioned, and then and Terah, when he's took a wife,
Amthello. I love these names.
Cornebo,
the daughter of Cornebo.
And she bare him a son. Now this time Terah was 70, so he's a little older than he was when he had his first 2 kids. And Terah called the name of his son that was born to him Abram.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this is because the king had raised him in those days and dignified him above all his princes that were with him. I bet you Abram in Hebrew probably means something to do with being raised up or blessed.
It means like father. So
Abram or Abraham?
Abraham means father of nations.
Oh.
So Abram just means father, or like
anyway.
The father. It's from the word Ava. Abba.
Oh.
Ava.
So this is where we get Abram. Abram, just if you don't know, later becomes Abraham.
If you didn't know that, spoiler alert.
Well, no, but I remember when I was first reading the Bible and I was like, Abram? Who's this guy?
Oh, sure, different guy.
I'm like, wait, Abraham. He's the same guy.
Why do they do
He
that?
just gets the ham put on.
Yeah.
He really hammed it up. What a ham. Isn't it ironic that that later Jews can't eat swine? But they put it at the end of his name.
We're totally Englishizing it. Yeah. How interesting.
Abram, no ham. Am I right? Am I right, my Jewish friends?
Oh, man.
Oh. That's not a very kosher joke, I guess. Anyway.
What's funny, too, is the Hebrew word for like a non-Hebrew or the non-Jew, I think is I'm getting it a little wrong. No, it's like Noach or something.
Noach?
Yeah. Which is very similar to the word Noah.
Yeah.
So
well, it's funny because as you find out later that Abraham and them didn't even live by the same law that was later put on. Anyway,
yeah,
there's neither here nor there, but on the Jewish nation that was introduced later. I mean, they didn't even do circumcision. Well, Abraham later did it. He had to do it as an adult. Can you imagine that? Him and his whole household.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no kidding.
It's like, I think I'm gonna join another religion. But
Yeah, no kidding.
like just
All
the
his
tip.
servants like, what do you? Why?
He's like, he's like, what? And he's like, God's like, just the tip.
Not that.
It's like not that bad. I was like, all right. Anyway, so let's so okay, Abraham was born. Let's go. Now we're in chapter 8.
Yep.
Start it off, Brandon.
In the very beginning.
Yeah.
So it was in the night that Abram was born that all the servants of Terah and all the wise men of Nimrod and his conjurers came and ate and drank in the house of Terah, and they rejoiced with him on that night.
All right, so they're having a big party, big celebration.
Yeah, his
He's
another
like
son.
passing out cigars, drinking, eating. Okay.
And when all the wise men and conjurers went out from the house of Terah, they lifted up their eyes toward heaven that night to look at the stars, and they saw, and behold, one very large star came from the east and ran in the heavens, and he swallowed up the 4 stars from the 4 sides of heaven. So they saw a sign in the stars.
Yeah.
And all the wise men of the king and his conjurers were astonished at the sight, and the sages understood this matter, and they knew its import.
Okay, this is interesting because it's like these guys were actually correct in being able to read the stars.
Yeah.
Or this vision.
Yeah.
It's
according to the story, right?
Yeah. So how do they know how to do that? Anyway, so in verse 4 it says they interpret it.
And they said to each other, "This only betokens the child that had been born to Terah this night. He will grow up and be fruitful and multiply and possess all the earth, he and his children forever. And he and his seed will slay great kings and inherit their lands."
Yeah. So that's what it betokens. There's like, oh shoot. You know.
That little babe.
I wonder how these visions like work. They all saw it at the same time, and then they interpret it. And these guys are right on with their interpretations too. Like, what is this divination that they're using? It's interesting, even in the Bible, that the wicked priests are usually able to divine what the meanings are.
It decouples like foretelling of the future from having to be like necessarily like a righteous person. Like anybody can do it if they know how to do it.
Yeah. So I'm like, what is this? What, like, I mean, this obviously isn't like some thing where they're looking at their horoscope in a newspaper or whatever. But anyway, so it's just interesting that that's the way they figure out that, but it's that this is going to happen. So they start getting worried. They're like, oh crap.
Well, I will say that they did name him Abram. You know? I mean, it's like, it's kind of like they were already planning on it.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe that's why they named him. That's why Terrace. And then, that's
why it was so important that Terra went and hit him and so forth. But we'll get to that.
Well, yeah, we get to that. So then they all go home that night. So that's an interesting theory, though. And then they're so maybe whenever they name them, okay, let's just they name them, but they kind of do the thing where they're looking for a sign, like, we're gonna name him, we're looking for a sign. They all see that, even Tara saw the thing, and they're like, whoa, okay, we're gonna name him Abram, because the one gobbled up all the other stars like Pac-Man.
Totally, and I agree. And just because his name doesn't mean he was named like his name could have came later.
Yeah.
Like this one's destined to.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying it would make sense that that's why they would name him.
And how common is that story of the one destined to take over?
One is like to rule them all.
Is like sent away. How common is that story in religious texts?
Well, the reason that. Well, it's even in Greek Oedipus and stuff. They end up sending him away to make him to make it to where he doesn't fulfill his destiny, ends up fulfilling it. It's like they almost trying to avoid the destiny makes it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, if they would have had Oedipus stay at home, he wouldn't have killed his dad and married his mom. But they sent him away. And it's like, and then he comes in, and he didn't know it was his dad, and he killed him. Fault. And then all of a sudden, the guy you just killed was the king. I'm marrying his mom, the prince.
That's your mom.
The queen. Dude, that's your mom. He's like, no. So you can't run away from density or destiny.
Ooh, density
from Back to the Future. You're my density.
Oh, you're my density. You're right.
Anyway, so they go home, and they had been drinking it up and having fun, and then all of a sudden they wake up the next morning. They're like, oh crap, so hungover, and they're, wait a second. Remember those stars and we named them Abram, and we better tell the king because that's a pretty big. You don't
want to know about this
sign.
If he finds about it later and he finds out that we knew about it,
he's going to kill us. Okay, so in verse 7, this is them talking, should this thing get to the king in the latter days, he will say to us, why have you concealed this matter from me? And then we shall all suffer death. Therefore, now let us go and tell the king the sight which we saw and the interpretation thereof. And we shall remain clear. Let's just get it out. We're gonna tell him and let him figure it out.
It's like so they're like, we heard Terah had a son. We went over, had a party with him.
Yeah,
we weren't doing anything wrong.
Yeah, they just retell the story. They're like, okay, it swallowed up the stars, and so we wanted to come and tell you what we saw.
Yep.
So what's the, and then they're like, now king, behold, we have truly acquainted thee with what we have seen concerning this child. We've told you, we're clear. You do what you want.
And so the king went and tried to Nimrod.
Actually, they give a suggestion.
So they said this is what you could do. It said, if it seemeth the king good, we will slay him before he shall grow up and increase in the land, and his evil increase against us, and we and our children perish through his evil.
Yeah, they said.
So we'll kill him before we
but
suffer.
They said give him value for this child. Give him money. What the kid's worth or whatever.
Like take care of it discreetly.
Yeah, you go. We'll slay him, and then we won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, Nimrod didn't necessarily.
No, he liked it.
He just, but he actually went and he kind of Terah give me a few days to think about it.
Whoa, Brandon, this is the fun part.
Okay,
this is the best part, man. This is why I like smile whenever I read this. I'm like, this is so funny. But so the king heard their words and they seemed good. He's like, yeah, seems reasonable. Okay, we got to get rid of this kid. And he sent and called for Terah, and Terah came before the king. And the king said, hey, I've heard that you had a king born a son born the other night. And then this sign was given, after his birth. And then he says to Terah, now therefore give me the child that we may slay him before his evil springs up against us. And I will give thee for his value thy house full of silver and gold.
Yeah.
Beautiful silver and gold. Okay. So he just basically lays it out. Dude, I know what happened. I know, so you give me the kid. I'll fill your house with silver and gold. I'm going to pay you, And then Terah says, go ahead.
Terah's like, hey, my lord and king, I have heard thy words, and thy servant shall do all that the king desireth.
I love this part.
But he goes, my lord and king, I will tell thee what happened to me yesterday, though, yesternight, that I might see what the advice the king will give his servant. and then I will answer the king upon what he has just spoken. And the king said, "Speak."
Okay,
So,
so
what's your what's your story? What do you got?
Tara's like, okay, king, hey, okay, but first,
Listen
and
to
this
my
is
little
where
story here.
he's like, I have a question that you answer. If you answer me this question, I'll answer you, or So this is like his little clever thing. I'm like, dude, you're so brilliant.
So he says, Aeon, son of Mored, came to me yesternight, saying, Give unto me the great and beautiful horse that the king gave thee, and I will give thee silver and gold, and straw and provender for its value. And I said to him, Wait till I see the king concerning thy words, and behold, whatever the king saith, that will I do.
Okay, so it's basically he's saying, yeah. Basically, this guy, I don't even know if there's actually
Like, I was offered silver and gold yesterday
for that awesome horse that you gave me. This beautiful,
very prized horse.
Yeah, I mean, this odd, like, he's just like, kind of matter of factly, and the king's like, okay, all right, I'm following you.
And then he says, And now, my lord and king, behold, I have made this thing known to thee, and the advice which my king will give unto his servant, that will I follow. And the king heard the words of Terah, and his anger was kindled, and he considered him in the light of a fool.
Yeah.
And the king answered Terah, and he said to him, Art thou so silly, ignorant, and deficient in understanding to do this thing, to give thy beautiful horse for silver and gold, or even for straw and provender?
Yeah. And then, he says, Art thou so short of silver and gold that thou shouldest do this thing, because thou canst not obtain straw and provender to feed thy horse? You got enough. You're good.
It's pretty clever. It's like yes.
And what is silver and gold to thee, or straw and provender, that thou shouldest give away that fine horse? Okay, this is the king saying this stuff.
Yeah.
That thou shouldest give away. What's gold and silver, or even straw and whatever provender? That thou shouldest give away that fine horse which I gave thee, and this is like which there is none to be had in the whole earth. Why would you even consider that? Like, you're coming to me for this? This is obvious. Like, he even called, like, are you so silly and ignorant?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then Terah, go ahead so the king leaves off speaking, and then
Terah answered, saying, Like unto this has the king spoken to a servant. He goes, I beseech thee, my lord and king, what is this which thou didst say unto me, saying, Give thy son, that we may slay him, and I will give you silver and gold for his value? What shall I do with silver and gold after the death of my son? Surely then at my death the silver and gold will return to my king who gave it.
Yeah. So he's like, dude, you just answered. Like, are you getting what I'm saying?
So he didn't say no. He just told him. He's like really clever.
Like, king. And that's why I love this thing. He's like, don't you see? You're so pissed off. You're so upset about me. Even considering about the horse. This is my freaking son. Who's gonna inherit me? And you can give me all the silver and gold or whatever, but whenever I die, who's that silver and gold going to go to? It's going to go back to you anyway. If I don't have any kids, if you just take them.
Which he already has 2 sons, though.
Well, hey, Brandon. Dude,
well, that's leading into the name Abram, though. Like, there was more to it.
Yeah. So.
And when the king heard the words of Terah and the parable which he brought concerning the king, it grieved him greatly, and he was vexed at this thing, and his anger burned within him.
He's just like, you got me.
He was shaking his fist.
Like, Terah! Why? You tricked me. But I just love his, quick cleverness, where, imagine if you could do something like this, if you could be that clever to be able to, be that, or to kind of turn it on somebody. Well, first off,
Yeah, this is Terah's one shining moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's clever here, but at another time he's like, wait, never mind, I won't get to that. But
so Terah sees that he can feel the heat coming off the king's head. He sees, and he says, and he turns to the king and he says, all that I have is in the king's power. Whatever the king desires to do with his servant, that let him do. Yea, even my son, he is in the king's power. He's saying, it's all yours. You're the king, you know? He is, even my son, he is in the king's power without value in exchange. He and his two brothers that are older than me. He's like, dude, you can have it all. I'm not taking money for it though. That was his thing. He's like, you know what? I've told you the thing. I don't want gold and silver are not going to make up for it. You want him, you come get him.
You take him. I'm not going to be known for selling him though.
Yeah, I don't want your dirty money basically. Yeah. And the king said to Terah, no, but I will purchase thy younger son for a price. So the king's like, no, I'm going to make it seem like I'm just. I'm going to purchase him, And then this is where you came in and where you're talking about Terah's like, hey, give me some time.
Exactly. So Terah basically says, give me 3 days to consider this matter and let me consult with my family.
Yeah. So anyway, I just love that Terah is like, tells him the story and the king gets it. And it's like, any amount of money is not worth it. Just like the horse. And I don't want your money. I don't want your filthy money. But the king's like, no, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy it. And he's like, well, give me a couple days. And so they come up with a plan, which is kind of me. Like whenever I heard the plan, I was kind of like,
yeah, exactly. Like, it's a bad.
It sucks for somebody.
That poor handmaiden, but yeah.
Yeah. So one of his servants had a wife, or handmaiden, they call her. And she had just had a kid.
So that's what they end up doing is within the next 3 days, they end up giving a newborn of one of Terah's servants gets sent to Nimrod.
Yeah. But also, just to let you know, this wasn't just like him going, oh, we're going to, he's kind of grieving, or this is my interpret. He's thinking it over, taking the whole time. On the 3rd day, the king sent to Terah saying, send me thy son for a price as I spoke to thee. So Terah's like trying to sitting there for probably the whole 3 days being like, what the freak do we do? No, I'm not, and the king also, he says, and shouldest thou not do this, I will send and slay all that thou hast in thy house, so that thou shalt not even have a dog remaining.
So I guess you're right. That does lead to a little motivation. I mean, I'm not trying to justify it, but that's where he's like, oh, geez, we don't have no choice.
Like, we're dead. We're dead. And so it may have been more of a, yeah.
It's like, hey, servant, you're going to die too. So it's kind of like,
It's like, okay, we're all going to die. Or we can sacrifice, not my kid, but
exactly.
Your kid did he have the cool signs or anything? The servant's kid? No.
Exactly.
So Terah hastened. He took a child from one of his servants, which his handmaid had borne to him that day, and Terah brought the child to the king and received value for it. Okay. And the Lord was with Terah in this matter, that Nimrod might not cause Abram's death. Okay, I like this. And the king took the child from Terah, and with all his might dashed his head to the ground. For he thought it had been Abram.
Like here's ending this risk right here.
Yeah. I mean, actually, literally take it by the legs.
What a jerk, dude.
I mean, it's just like crazy. Like, and it's
like,
oh, but I remember that house full of gold and silver you got.
Yeah.
So
I heaved when I read that.
Like, and then Terah took Abram, his son, secretly with his mother and nurse, and he concealed them in a cave, and he brought them their provisions monthly. And then the Lord was with Abram in the cave, and he was there 10 years, and kings and princes and soothsayers and sages thought that the king had killed Abram.
So here's another cave. Caves are only good things in the
that's true.
In sacred texts.
Yeah, good things happen in caves.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, actually, there was one. So later on in this, there's a story of a half man, half beast in the cave.
Really?
Yeah. Who was it? It was it's later on in this. I sped read through a few parts. You'll get to it if you haven't got to it yet. Well, you got did you read the whole? Did you listen to the whole thing?
Mm-hmm. Dude. Anyway, well,
but yeah,
how long have we been?
We're an hour and 15. But
Well,
if you're still listening and watching,
oh no, you are.
Thanks for sticking with us here.
Well, so that's the first incidents of the conflict of of Nimrod and Abram. Do you want to keep going, or do you want to start?
Oh, you do another one?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, because I like to put one out a week.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So there's the story of the first conflict between Abram's dead, but he's not because.
So yeah, this covers the birth of Abraham, and it covers the first Nimrod, the feud between Nimrod and Abram.
Yeah,
and a lot of and then some also and some bonus content about the sons of Noah, and we didn't really go into all the genealogies, but who they were and stuff. But
that's one of the things. There's whole chapters in this that are just genealogy.
We did discuss the garment too.
Yeah, so which is really cool.
Yeah,
because that garment shows up. Just to let you know, that garment shows up later. Mm-hmm. At least possibly a couple times.
Yeah. I've been fighting the whole time to not mention it.
We can. No.
We'll mention it later.
Yeah.
And a lot of some of it's even theoretical too.
Oh,
sometimes when there's a garment mentioned,
No, I think it's not theoretical, but.
Oh, really?
Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it whenever the prophecy happens. We get the prophecy at the end of chapter 12.
Okay.
That Nimrod gets distressed about.
Yeah.
We can talk about that.
Okay.
All right. Well, anyway, okay, so now we just added another 5 minutes to that.
Yeah. So that was basically up until Abraham's birth. We actually covered a lot. I didn't think it would take an hour and 10 minutes, but we'll go a little bit further here.
Yeah.
The next one.
But guys, Abram survived. Don't worry.
He
will become a total ham.
That was a different baby that named Nimrod.
It was just a servant baby.
Yeah.
But remember, that's the thing. Remember though, the whole house was going to be just not even a dog remaining. So anyway,
good point.
I mean,
it was the right decision.
What would you do in that situation?
All right.
So, but it's just I just love Tara in that.
It was Tara's shining moment.
And you'll see Abram is a chip off the old block.
Oh, he's a chip off the old block. He gets him later on with the whole gods, right? Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that next time.
All right. Bye.